I think that was sort of like the number one challenge that I had. But I think also, I mean, I think just the Shabbos thing is and like taking up all the holidays, you know, it's tough. I mean, no one in yeshiva tells you, hey, when you know, get into the real world and you start working, you know, there's going to be a lot of, you know, just you're going to have a lot of issues you have to like smooth over with your colleagues about, you know, taking off all this time, you know, for the Chagim and leaving early on Fridays in the winter, and you know, it creates, you have to be really sensitive to the people you're working with about it.
What about entertaining sources, like getting them drunk and getting them fed, and like, how does that go?
I'm much more old school. Like I'm much more traditional. You know, frankly, a lot of the stuff I do is just over the phone, and at this point, a lot of the sources I have are people I've known for a long time. If anything, it's actually been helpful. A lot of the sources I have are Jewish, you know, are not religious, but they're sort of Jewish, and so we sort of share that sort of connection. I'm not, you know, I very rarely do lunches. I'm not that kind of person. We have some reporters who like, you know, who were one specifically reporter who's like notorious has got this huge sort of payroll of like, you know, scorers, and I'll take hops out and, you know, be like a never-ending, you know, just a bank account to, you know, schmooze up the sources and wine and dine them. I don't do that. I've never done that, honestly. You know, the most I'll do is like a lunch at some point. It's just not how I work.
So if you're going to take a source to lunch, how will they?
Well,
would you take them to a kosher?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, New York. Yeah. I mean, you know, first of all, it's New York, so there's a million kosher places. So you know, that's never a problem. You know, and I'll go and eat with them. Like I'll have a coffee or a salad, if, you know, if they want to go somewhere else. You know. I recently, you know, I did a story recently, and we met at like a restaurant, like in Long Island, with the lawyer and their client, and you know, I just had some salad or something. I think it's not a big deal.
Right. Did you have difficulty relating to non-Orthodox Jews or non-Jews coming out of what I assume was an insular upbringing?
Yeah, I mean, well, as a child, like my childhood wasn't so insular, but like my education was. Yeah, absolutely. You know, initially I covered correction, and frankly, like, what does a Jewish kid in yeshiva know anything about Rikers Island? And I'm always like surprised about what I don't know or do know. I mean, it's just I was thrown into this world, and like I covered correction, I covered sanitation and police, and I was like, I was clueless. I absolutely clueless. You know, I just had no idea, and I literally had to like sit down with people and like explain to me like what happened. And they're like, you know, the most I know from about jails is Shawshank Redemption. You know, can you help me out here? So yeah, I'm very lucky to have the opportunity to learn about this stuff. And frankly, I lived in New York, and I was a little bit overwhelmed by living in New York. And at the paper I worked at, you know, we covered this stuff like very closely, like kind of wonkish in a very wonkish way. So it gave me an opportunity to sort of make the world sort of, in a weird way, seem smaller. The longer I was there, the more I understood about how the city works and operates. But yeah, I mean, completely clueless. I mean, I was just very lucky to have a very patient editor and supporting like colleagues who walked me through some of the stuff. And it's still the case. I'm still really lucky and still don't know much about what I cover.
How have Orthodox girls related to your profession of journalism?
That's a good question. Like, you know, I think, you know, as I got older, like I'm like very careful to sort of associate with people who are, you know, going to be accepting. I just feel like, you know, it's a non-starter for me if there's an issue with this for them. So I mean, I've had discussions. People are upset. You know, some of my friends now get upset about some of the stuff I write, and you know, and if those friends, I'm like pretty careful about not talking about what I do. Like it's just sort of a separate part of my life. You know, and I'll get the emails like after a story runs, specifically if it gets like posted. It used to get posted to some of the Jewish blogs, and that's when my friends would read it, or some of these more religious friends would read it. So then they would get more, like they would send me, you know, then they would kind of freak out. You know, and they're very discouraging about some of the stuff. But you know, I keep that separate. I try very hard to keep it separate. And you know, with Jewish girls, like if they're not accepting about it, it's not somebody that I want to associate with. I just think, you know, it's just not. I don't have the patience, frankly, to, you know, constantly combat, you know, issues they have with what I do or don't do.
Did any of them say anything really funny?
You know, believe it or not, most like religious girls are not that funny, frankly. So. Yeah, no, not really. No, not so much. No, it's just, I wish. No, not so much.
Do you think if you're an accountant, you'd be married by now?
I think my parents think I would be married by now. I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think I'd ever be happy there doing that. Can you hold on 1 second? I've actually got. I'm supposed to meet a friend in for a couple minutes actually.
Yeah. This is great. So let me turn it off now. This is awesome. Thank you so much.
Okay. Cool. I'm glad I got